Hello, Facebook world, and welcome to Travel Talk Live, powered by Gifted Travel Network. My name is Vanessa McGovern, and I'm really excited about our second ever episode and the first time we can actually go live. Fingers crossed that the technology gods are shining down on us to be able to fully execute a live travel talk episode. Last week was our first episode. We had a few tech glitches, but it's all good. We were still able to get the presentation up and loaded on the fan page, so go check that out, featuring Kelly Mwila of Alaska to Africa Travel. So on today's Travel Talk Live episode, our second ever for Travel Talk Live, we are featuring the lovely Jill McAuliffe from Allianz Travel Insurance, Allianz Global Assistance. Hi Jill, welcome to Travel Talk Live.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So Jill is, as I mentioned, she is with the leader in travel insurance and assistance services, Allianz. And Jill is going to be sharing with us very important information on, why should you really even be thinking about travel insurance? What is travel insurance? And really getting down to some basic, not so much basic, but some really important key items on coverage questions. And I know as the traveling public constantly ask questions of, does my credit card cover this? Or my health insurance has got my back? But as somebody who actually worked on cruise ships, and by somebody I mean me, I actually worked on cruise ships for 2 years in a row, for 7 years total in the industry, actually on board. And I hate to put the scary spin on the travel side of your amazing vacation experience, but things can happen, and you want to be able to protect yourself because your vacation days and vacation dollars are very precious. And so today, Jill is going to really help us to understand, help you to understand why you really need to be thinking about travel insurance. Now, if you're using a Gifted Travel Network member, and perhaps you are listening to Travel Talk Live right now because your friendly travel professional, who is likely associated with Gifted Travel Network, recommended that you join in on Travel Talk Live today. If you're working with a GTN agent, our agents are very professional, and if you decline travel insurance, which we do obviously recommend that does not happen, but if you so choose to opt out of travel insurance, they will go as far as ask you to sign a waiver because it's that important. So I think we'll be able to emphasize that throughout Travel Talk Live today and why you should really be caring. So because we had some tech issues before, I'm going to turn to my team on the other side of this iPad to make sure we are good. We're good. We're getting thumbs up. Okay. And Jill, how are you? We're good. You ready?
I'm good.
So
I'm
for
good.
my Travel Talk Live audience, if I seem like weird with my eyes, it's because I'm looking at Jill on a Surface Pro down here, and I want to look at you because I'm talking to you. But this technology here, I'm actually looking at an iPad and my camera's up. So if I'm looking up and down, that's why. So thanks for joining us live. We're going to dive right into it. So Jill from Allianz is here, and she's going to talk to us about travel insurance. So let's just get started. I know, Jill, let's just start with a nice basic question of, what is travel insurance? I mean, it's kind of obvious, but how do you describe it? What is it?
Well, when I talk to folks, I usually say, it's just like any other insurance. It's peace of mind. You wouldn't spend a big dollar amount, on a ring or a car or any other large item thing and not insure it. So it is peace of mind for folks while they're traveling, before they go. But that is the basic gist of what is travel insurance. There's all sorts of bells and whistles on different coverages that people get when they buy a travel insurance policy. Everything from health benefits, medical benefits to, your luggage is delayed and you need to go buy a new outfit. So it covers anything to do with travel. And yes, we do want to encourage people, the general public, to buy travel insurance. I know when I started here 9 years ago, I was given the statistic of 93% of Americans do not buy travel insurance.
Ooh,
yes,
that's
so
high.
a lot of room for growth. A lot of people didn't have it. At this point, the latest one that I heard was 78%. So we're going in the right direction.
Right.
It is a relatively younger type of insurance to buy, but still could be very expensive on the back end if you don't have it, if you don't buy it when your travel agent offers it for you.
I mean, and it's not like something catastrophic has to happen. I know a lot of times people think that, well, first of all, they think nothing's going to happen, right? And
Right.
unfortunately, stuff does happen.
Right.
But travel insurance is helpful even for, like simple little injuries maybe that might occur while you're traveling. It's not like you have to go into like a major medical situation. Like you could
Right.
literally just, sprain your wrist and you have to go get a cast,
Exactly.
and that could really add up very quickly, I'm sure.
It does. And, another just, we get, I work for Allianz and we're in Richmond, Virginia. And of the 4,400 to 5,500 claims we get a week on average,
Okay. Wow.
50% of those are cancellation claims.
Cancellation.
So if there's any, one that's watching this, and I know
Wow.
you're planning to make the best memories in the world on your trip, sometimes it just doesn't happen 50% of the time. So when people think that
Wow.
I'm going, something could happen again. Even a small sprain of your leg or your ankle, you might not be able to get on that plane to go. So there are, it doesn't have to be a very catastrophic event like you just said, Vanessa, but that certainly is the case too. And if that's the case, then it becomes very expensive out of pocket
Wow.
for consumers.
And I've had the pleasure of working closely with you and working with a lot of our agents and hearing stories as well. So one of the things that always, I think, a part of buying travel insurance that you don't think about is that if you're buying it for cancellation purposes, is that it's not always about, like you just said, maybe you sprain your ankle or something and you just can't get on that flight or you can't take that trip because of something that happened, you've got to cancel your trip. But you can buy travel insurance in the event that you have to cancel for something not related to health or like your specific health. Like if you've got somebody else that has a health issue and you've just decided in your family, right, that you just have to cancel your trip, like you can buy insurance for that, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm sure there's, honeymooners out there that are young and totally vibrant and fine, but do they have someone in their family, their Grammy or their brother or their mother that might not be as well? And so that is the beauty of travel insurance. It doesn't just cover the traveler. It covers everyone, depending on the coverage and the policy, but it does cover more than just the person actually traveling. Should they have to come home early from their trip, or again, should they have to cancel for someone else in their family's medical issue? So, and another thing about travel insurance that I probably should have said at the beginning is, when I say peace of mind, the travel agents that you work with, they also are just human too, and they go to bed at night. So when you're actually traveling overseas, we're 24/7, 365, so that you have someone that you can get a hold of. We speak, many languages in-house, and those are all things that we're just going to be a number away, that anyone is going to be able to reach us at any time of the day or night, even when there's a lot of stuff that while the travel agents out there can do, there's some stuff, they can't diagnose you and do some sort of medical things that you need some trained professionals on that side of it for. So when you have a travel insurance policy, all you have to do is call a number and we start helping you right away.
Because the policy is between the traveler and you.
Exactly.
Obviously, a good travel professional is going to be of service, but you're not calling your travel professional at 3:00 in the morning.
Right.
They can't do anything for you. And
Exactly.
They're not the ones that have the backing of the leader in travel insurance. Like you need to be calling Allianz, and when you get your policy, you'll get, I'm assuming obviously they get, cards and all kinds of information about who you're supposed to call when you're overseas and things like that. So, all right. So I know we're diving into all kinds of things, and we had a little flow here, but we're just kind of going with it. Any questions that have come into the box right now? If you have any questions for Jill, or maybe you even have a story that you want to share about travel insurance, please go ahead and feel free to make a comment in the comment box. If you are excited to see Jill on here and you're with GTN, go ahead and give her a like and a love. We'd love to see the support for Jill. All right, let's talk about why. I know the next question we wanted to answer, I know we started to talk about it, so let's just kind of talk about it more in depth, which is, why do I need insurance? And I know you gave a few examples, but maybe let's keep going to make sure we're not leaving anything out.
Sure. Well, so the two biggest main reasons people need travel insurance is for the cancellation before you go, the interruption while you're traveling, should something happen, whether it be to you, the traveler, or again, someone back at home that's special to you and close to you, family member, and the medical piece while traveling. The cancellation piece, as long as it's a covered reason, and there are covered reasons, it's not because I didn't like how my hair looked today and I'm not going to go on this trip. But as long as it falls under a covered reason, all the main things, the illnesses, the injuries, death, and a ton of other reasons are why you can cancel and get back all of your money.
And is it all of your money?
Yes, it's 100% back when you buy a third-party travel insurance, which is what Allianz is. So as long as again, get us in contact with us and get your agent involved if need be, if that's how it's working with the two of you, then that is 100% back as long as it's a covered reason.
And
yes.
What if the consumer, they booked before without an agent, and I know because as now in the digital world, people are very savvy with going direct. What if there's a consumer watching and they've maybe booked a cruise before, and they've just automatically said, well, I'm good because I got the insurance maybe that the cruise line offered. Why should they consider a third-party insurance like Allianz over the insurance that the actual travel provider is offering?
Sure. I think the easiest way to answer that is a cruise line is cruises. A tour operator sells tours. Let the travel insurance provider sell the travel insurance. That's the easiest way to explain it. There's a million reasons why. It's always going to be more coverage with a true third party. Like I said, we're 24/7, 365. Those cruise lines, they go home at night too. So again, there's a ton of reasons, but you're leaving a lot on the table as far as the consumer to be fully covered if you're using a travel supplier. And again, let's let them do what they're good at, and let's let the travel insurance providers do what we do.
I'm just coming up with a scenario because I'm sure it's probably helpful to paint a picture. I know, let's just use like the Mediterranean, like somebody's on a Mediterranean river cruise or a Mediterranean ocean cruise as an example, and they have an appendicitis and they have to get off the ship, and they end up in a country where English is not the first language, in a hospital. Like, what is I don't know, obviously I can't speak to what the cruise line is going to do, but I know that if they have a third party insurance, like what happens at that moment, like immediately upon, something is wrong, they're going to call you, and then what happens at that point? Like, paint the picture of the level of support that they're getting.
Right, absolutely. And this kind of goes into the second piece of why you need it, which is that medical piece. First off, let me say this. People do not have medical insurance once they are traveling overseas.
Right. So that whole, but my health insurance, I'm good. I have health insurance.
Right.
No.
Very few people do. Very small percentage, depending on maybe a job or something like that. But most people, unless they've paid a lot of money for a rider, their health insurance doesn't continue on. In fact, people don't even understand that if you're on a cruise ship in Fort Lauderdale and you have not disembarked, you're actually in foreign waters because you're about to go that way. So I have heard situations where people have gotten on at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, disembarkment's not until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they get hurt in between, they have to pay a lot of money because they're not using their regular health insurance. So even little things like that.
And they were in Fort Lauderdale.
They're in Fort Lauderdale. They could see the dock below. They had to pay $800 to get off the boat.
The ship is registered in like the Bahamas or somewhere else. I mean, makes sense.
So you're considered in foreign waters.
Right.
But so to that point, if something does go wrong, if something medically happens, you break your leg, you sprain your ankle, you chip your tooth, then you're going to go to the nearest hospital. You can certainly call us. We can get you there. We can point you in the right direction, and then you're going to get serviced. And then when you come home, we're going to take the claim on once you submit all the documentation. When there is a true medical emergency kind of evacuation, that's a little bit different.
Right.
We get involved from the very get-go. A case manager is involved. We use all doctors and nurses from the University of Virginia hospitals. Great medical system in Virginia. So once something medically happens, then they're involved to work with our translators if they're in a country where there needs to be translations.
Yeah, because that's scary. If you're traveling in a foreign country and you're in a hospital and nobody speaks English, so you'll send somebody to the hospital?
Well, yeah, we won't send. Well, it depends on the
It depends.
situation. But yes, if someone needs to be helicoptered out in a medical evacuation plane, which is a very specific plane, depending on their needs, a nurse will go, a doctor will go with them, and basically what happens is we get them to the nearest appropriate medical facility so that they can get treatment, and then once they're stabilized, then we will work on getting them back home to the United
Okay.
States.
Okay.
We also, if someone is going to be hospitalized for, 5 days, 7 days, whatever the amount of time may be, then we might bring someone to your bedside. So we will bring your child or a
Oh,
loved one
wow.
over to you
Yeah.
so that you have support while you're there.
Right. Right.
And again, the case manager, and I hear wonderful stories all the time, maybe not in the best of circumstances, but how we've provided service. They're pretty amazing, and that case manager is with you all the way until you're home. And then depending on different policies you can buy, you can actually, if you live in Montana, but the best medical facilities in Boston, then we will drop you in Boston versus taking you home so you can finish your treatment in Boston. So there's a lot of, details behind it.
Which you can
that,
offer because that's what you specialize in.
Right,
You're an
exactly.
insurance company. Yeah.
Exactly.
That makes
So,
sense.
and medical evacuations, if you do not have travel insurance, and this would be the one thing if anyone's watching that's about to talk to your travel agent today, you will not get picked up unless you have money to give that person. If you have a true third-party insurance, then we're going to cover it up front. But there are situations where they will make you give them $20,000
Oh, for
before they
sure.
will put you while you're in the middle of a medical emergency.
Right.
Nobody wants that.
No.
So
And I
that's
gotta
very-
say, like, having worked on cruise ships, as I mentioned at the beginning of Travel Talk Live, it's amazing how frequently somebody was literally medevaced off the ship. Like a helicopter came, took somebody, and they got off the cruise ship. And I remember one time hearing a story, which I'm sure you'll say, yeah, that's pretty standard, or maybe you'll tell me that that's not standard. But I remember hearing a story. It was a young father. He was, in his late 30s, and he had to be medically evacuated off the ship. But I remember hearing the story that they didn't have insurance, and that their cost of the helicopter ride, I believe it was like from Cozumel back to Miami, it was 90 grand.
Yep, that was my next point. Was that's where it gets very expensive.
90
So
grand. I mean,
90 grand. Oh, and that's small potatoes. If you're coming from Europe, 100, and these are just averages, but around 150,000. Antarctica. I'm not sure many people are going there. $400,000.
But if
That's
you go,
because
you
mortgages.
better bet you know what, that you gotta get travel
Exactly.
insurance.
So, and that's the expensive
my
piece.
gosh.
If you have, money to spend on the cancellation and lose it, that's one thing. But if you've saved, to go on this fantastic trip of a lifetime, you might not have that extra $100,000 sitting in a bank account somewhere or on your credit cards that's going to be required should
Right.
you have some sort of issue.
So when
So it's very
should
important.
the traveler? I know our travel professionals at Gifted Travel Network, they're recommending travel insurance to their clients immediately upon purchase of the actual trip. When should the traveling? I mean, what if there's somebody's watching right now, and maybe they're just happened on this video because they follow Gifted Travel Network. They're not actually working with a travel professional, so nobody actually offered them travel insurance, or maybe their travel professional did offer them insurance and they've kind of been ignoring that email or phone call from their agent, and it's already been like a little while since they booked the trip but they haven't traveled. When should somebody be purchasing insurance? Up until when? Is there like a window, and then that's so
Sure.
so sad, too bad? Like, what's the deal with that?
Well, you can actually always buy travel insurance up until the day before departure.
Okay.
That being said, you want to buy it at the very beginning. You're going to have the most coverage. The thing about travel insurance, and it wouldn't matter which company you went with, it's going to be based off of most of the time the age of the traveler and the cost of the trip. It's never going to change because there's compliance laws behind insurance. So if it costs $200 today and it costs $200 December 31st and you're leaving January 1st, it's still the same cost. But if you had bought it today, then you're going to have more coverage.
Okay.
Biggest piece behind that is the pre-existing medical conditions
Okay.
coverage that we offer, and that goes for, again, if someone back home, my mom, we could use her as an example, who has diabetes, I would always want to make sure I'm covered so that if something happened to my mom while I'm traveling, then I'm able to get
Like
home
interrupt
and
your trip.
get back. Exactly. So it is the most important for everyone that's listening to always buy travel insurance at the very beginning of the initial trip. Deposit in the process of when you're deciding where to go and things to do. Very important.
Okay. All right. Any other things that we should cover in terms of why travelers need insurance?
I mean, again, there's a lot of other fun bells and whistles. There's travel delay. There's, if you're stuck at
Oh, the travel delay.
AFK for
Yeah.
5 hours and you need to buy a meal. There's all sorts of other coverages. Concierge. That's a great little benefit that some of our products have. That if you're in another country and you want to go to the fabulous restaurant or, see a soccer game in Madrid, then those are kinds of things that we can offer. So there's a lot of other good bells and whistles. But again, the main pieces that are the reasons people need to buy it are for the cancellation and interruption and the medical while traveling.
Okay. All right. So let's talk then about the big old, but my credit card covers me. I don't need insurance. My credit card covers me. And I know you did touch on, I have health insurance already. Aren't I covered by them? And I know, you did talk about that, so we can talk about that even more. But let's start with the whole credit card one, because that's a doozy. I hear that all the time. My credit card covers me. What do you say about that?
Well, absolutely. And, I have, 2 credit cards downstairs that cover me for some stuff. And I think that's the main point to this, is it does give you maybe some coverage here and there. You have to use that credit card for everything related to travel for it to work for that particular trip. So if you pulled out the wrong credit card and paid for something, then you might be out. But I think it goes back to, again, travel insurance is, that is what we do. That is who we are. We're always going to provide better coverage for, depending on the age and the cost of the trip, it can be a very minimal cost compared to what the value of what you might lose should you not have it. So again, you might get a little bit of baggage delay or a little bit of this or that. It's never going to really give you the medical piece. And again, that's the very expensive part as to where, the costs really skyrocket.
And nobody likes to talk about that. I mean, of course not, right? You don't want to think that you're going to have a medical issue while you were traveling. I actually had a minor medical issue when I was traveling back in June when I was in Palm Springs. That landed me in the ER for the whole day. And let me tell you, that bill, even with our insurance, it was not cheap. So
see, and that's I remember when you had that was crazy.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a point of, especially now that people are going to be traveling a lot more domestically. We've probably seen that in your world in the trends of the Pacific Northwest, Alaska. Kelly will do great with what's going on in the world because of all the other stuff happening. So a lot of people are moving their trips domestically.
Yeah.
It's still important to have travel insurance, because if you had a policy, Vanessa, then that would have been a primary insurance, and you would have never had to go to Cigna or whoever you use. And so think of it from a small business standpoint. That could really affect a small business if someone does have some sort of big medical event and there's only 30 employees and it ups the rate for everyone. So again, even though you're domestic, every time I travel, which is like weekly, I'm always out of network. I'm covered, but if I had to go to the ER, I'd have to pay $500 out of pocket.
Right.
If I have a travel insurance policy, because it's primary, I can just pay that out of pocket and get reimbursed the full amount. So there's still something to be said for buying it for domestic trips.
I mean, yes. I mean, my story is a perfect example. I mean, we're insured through my husband's employer, who is a large employer, and it's like some of the best insurance in terms of health insurance. And I was still over $1,000 out of pocket. I remember my husband opened the bill and he was like, "Oh, didn't you submit that?" I'm like, "That's after."
Right.
Because that's how expensive it is to get to land in the ER. So yeah, your point about domestic, even oftentimes we think, oh well, if I just travel to China or I'm in Egypt or South America, Antarctica, I'm taking my bucket list trip, I definitely better get my insurance. But it can get quite costly even domestically as well.
Right.
Even if you do have good insurance. So yeah, so we talked about the credit card. We talked about health insurance already now. Any other things you want to talk about before we get to all the fun things you want to mention that Allianz is up to?
No, I think that, again, I think that just anyone watching, you just need to understand that there's value
Mm,
and the importance of travel insurance. And hopefully this was a good little
mm.
tipster on why.
Yes, and you always want to work with your travel professional on travel insurance, even if booked your trip, and I will let it go without a travel professional. And you're listening to this Travel Talk Live episode, and you're hearing Jill, you're really hearing her and thinking, okay, I need to get serious about this. I need travel insurance. You can still use a travel professional, and you can still book your insurance with the travel professional even though you didn't book the trip with the travel professional is what I'm trying to say. And if you need a travel professional to help you with that travel insurance policy and you don't have a travel professional, I'd love to refer one to you within the Gifted Travel Network. And you can always email us at info at giftedtravelnetwork.com, and we'd be happy to refer you to somebody in our network that can take care of purchasing insurance for you. So even if you didn't purchase the trip with the travel agent, travel professional, as we like to say, you can still purchase the insurance through them. And if you are working with your travel professional and you have yet to pull the trigger on your travel insurance, please just do it. Just do it. Take it from someone that worked in Jill's been doing this for 9 years as somebody that worked on cruise ships and traveled all over the world. I've seen way too many medical situations than I care to remember, and it's absolutely important. So if you have any questions, we're actually going to go to a fun topic. Jill wants to talk about a few things that can enhance the trip experience, and she's going to share a little bit about a Scholar Trips program with Allianz as well. But before we do that, if you have any questions in regards to anything that Jill was mentioning, please go ahead and put it in the comments. Any questions so far, ladies? No, we're doing good. All right.
Just comments.
Just comments.
Do we have some people watching?
Yes, we do.
Oh,
Jill's like, please, please tell me there are people watching us. I'm just going to go to check the fan page myself. So, why don't we go ahead and talk about all of those things that you wanted to share about Allianz, or a fun side to travel insurance for today's Travel Talk Live.
Well, one of the things that is going on right now at Allianz, and this is great, again, if anyone's listening and you're interested in travel, if any of the GTN agents are on the line, we have what's called Scholar Trips, and it's a program that we will give, I think it's like $2,500 awarded to 6 students, age 14 and above, and they have to submit, like a little quick video or a little blurb, and then we're going to choose at the middle to end of November, we're going to choose 6 students, and then as long as they're traveling to enhance education or volunteer, or they're just not going on a fun trip, they're doing it for a reason as well. Then they're eligible to be part of this.
Okay.
And I think in the past we've had 2 to 3 winners. Now we're up to 6. And I believe the amount we give people is $2,500.
Great.
So if anyone that has a child, or an agent that has a child, or a niece or a nephew that's of that age, please enter. You could go to AllianzTravelInsurance.com and find information about it. There'll be some information that we'll put up on the GTN and the gift site so that people can see it. But it's, there's no cost to do it. It's just, again, something that will enhance, our younger generation to start learning about travel, getting enticed by it, and just a cool thing that we're doing.
That's a really cool thing. But it's got to be like a good, I know Jen in our office, her daughter just came back from Europe, and obviously that's a cultural program. But, if you've got a child going to Florida for spring break, I don't think that would count.
Right. I don't think we don't want to see their happenings going on during that one. So
yeah.
We'll leave that one.
Leave that one alone.
Leave that one out of social media.
Yes, please. All right, and then you have an app that's really cool for Allianz. It's a consumer app, right?
It is. I'm actually going to hold up my phone. So this is called Travel Smart App. And again, anyone listening that either is going on a trip, at some point they'll be going on a trip again, I hope. I hope everyone likes to travel like all of us on this call do. But this is a great little app. If you don't travel a lot, it's got everything you need. You don't have to have a policy with us, but if you did, you can put your information right in there, and it can pull up. But it can pull up hospitals. So if you are in Chile, you can bring up Chile, and it's going to show you all the hospitals in Chile. It's going to translate first aid terms.
Wow.
So if you're hurt in a country where, there might not be even a good way to speak the language, at least you can show someone what's going on. It also translates international medicine. We're all used to Tylenol. That's not the international name for Tylenol.
Right, no.
So you can type that in, and it will spout out what that name is.
That is so helpful.
It's so helpful. Flight stats. Again, a lot of us that fly a lot, we might have a different flight app, but this one will tell you what's going on with your flights. And then it also gives you, we're used to 911. Mm-hmm. Many countries are 011 or 112 as far as police, fire, ambulance. So again, just an all-inclusive place to get a lot of really great information. It's free to download on your iPhone or your whatever you have. It's Travel Smart, one word.
Okay.
But again, just something great to utilize if you are traveling. Gives you a lot of different good information. And if you do have something happen, you just hit a button and it calls right to our 24/7 hotline so that you can get help immediately.
Wow. Cool. So that's Travel Smart. And they can get it in their app store.
App store.
On their phone.
And free.
All right. Jan Shire is saying, cool app. Let's see. We do have a question here from Julie. She's asking, can we get a little more info where to find the scholarship information on the website? I'm not seeing it.
Okay. Can I pull? I don't even know. Will I mess up if I try to pull up right now?
I don't think so. I don't know for sure.
Was that just a consumer?
I don't
or is that,
know, Julie. Sorry, Julie. I don't know the answer to that.
Because it's like, I sent you a copy of it. I don't know if we can get her information. I can email it to her, just like a PDF.
So Julie, why don't you go ahead, and I think our team is responding to you right now. And so go ahead and Caroline, if you want to ask her for her email. If you're not comfortable, obviously, Julie, giving out your email in this thread, just email us, info@giftedtravelnetwork.com. And we'd be more than happy to forward you the document that Jill is referencing so that you can have direct information for it. Because we don't want to go to the screen because we were having a little bit of testy issues earlier, so we don't want to jinx this connection. So it should be on, like, as far as you know, it's on the Allianz
I'm pretty sure. I just haven't checked to where it is.
Okay.
But, yeah,
so if you're watching and you want it, we absolutely have access to it. So you can also email us, info@giftedtravelnetwork.com, and we'll just send you the PDF so that you have information. That's such a great program. How many? Forgive me if you said this and I don't remember. How many years have you been doing this for?
I don't know. I know it's been since I've been there, so I want to say maybe like 5 or 6, but not the full time. But definitely we've made it a bigger program as the years have gone on. So. And then the kids are required to report back to us. It's a pretty cool thing. And then we do a ceremony. It's pretty neat.
That is really neat. And so this year you're going to be selecting 6.
Correct.
Okay. And all U.S.
Correct.
Okay. Because we do have some listeners, viewers that possibly be Canadian. So the U.S. Students.
Right. U.S. based.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Jill? If you have any questions for Jill about travel insurance, anything that Jill covered that you want elaborated on, I'm just checking the box right now. Go ahead and type it into the thread of this Facebook Live video. We'd love to ask Jill. Jill, a question to make it a little bit more interactive here. Let's see. If Jill finds a specific URL for the info, can you post it here? So Jill, actually after this live is over, you could even go to that website if you want, right? Yeah. And just post the URL directly in this thread. So that's good too. So you can email us, plus we'll also, Jill will also post it in here. So if you have any other questions for Jill, go ahead and type it into this chat box. What would you say before we wrap up? I don't even know, how long have we been doing this for now? Oh, we have
33 minutes.
Oh, 33 minutes. Look how time flies when you're having fun. Who knew? Travel insurance. It's so much fun.
I know.
So what kind of questions, now that we're kind of wrapping up here at the end, but what are the typical questions that you get from even travel professionals that are even asking maybe on behalf of their consumers or consumer direct? Like, what are the frequently asked questions that you think that, because you're so immersed in this all the time, maybe you don't realize, but you keep getting them over and over and over again? That's just the most frequent.
I think people just always want to know, is this covered? Is that covered? Because it's insurance, there is grayness and there is covered reasons. Again,
Okay.
it's not just whatever you want. But I would say the biggest tips for consumers out there, if you do buy a travel insurance policy, then go to them, because that is what we do. That is what
Right.
the folks at the Richmond, Virginia headquarters do, is they answer those questions.
Okay.
They help you in need. I think the biggest problem that people who do have travel insurance policies get themselves into is they make decisions just on their own. Well, the weather's not really good. I'm going to go home. I've got travel insurance. Not how it works.
No.
Or, my flight's delayed. So they go and sleep on their vacation instead of, so there's, again, get us involved is my point. Call us,
Okay.
800 number,
Yeah.
24/7, 365. We will help you.
Okay.
And if we can't do something specific, we will point you in the right direction so that you do have the most coverage when you do have a policy.
Okay.
But the fact of the matter is we pay out 95% of our claims.
Wow.
So
And
most
50%, remember to repeat what you said earlier on, which I thought was a really big statistic. 50% of the claims you're paying out in any given week is for cancellation.
Exactly. And that, to that point, what most agents hear when I talk to agents and say, what are you hearing? It is, I'm going to go no matter what. I'm fine. All the typical things that we've kind of stabbed holes in to show you where the need is for travel insurance. And I can tell you this, that if someone does have a big time, emergency or something, or has to come home 2 days into a 12-day cruise and they've lost the remainder of that beautiful cruise, they're buying travel insurance the next time.
Yeah.
So it is one of those situations, like we don't have a choice on car insurance,
Right.
but if we did and someone got into an accident, they'd have car insurance the next day.
Right.
But travel insurance, you do have the choice. And I will end the call with this. Open your passport. Every single person's passport, which is not a travel insurance document, it is sent by the U.S. State Department. It states in your passport, if you have a United States of America passport, it states that you should have travel insurance. You should have medical insurance while traveling abroad. That's been in there for years. So again, that's nothing that we have, leveraged to get someone to write in there. That is what, our government
Right.
feels is necessary. So just remember that.
Why don't you think more people are doing that? Is it just because is it just a genuine, I guess I take for granted because I've traveled so often, is it just because people really just genuinely believe that nothing's going to happen to them?
I think part of it's that, but I think it's still a newer insurance out there. Again, my company does all sorts of new insurance. Now you can buy insurance if you, Ticketmaster and stuff like that. So a lot of these insurances that we kind of deal with are newer in the marketplace. It's not really, but I guess the way that it's marketed out there, it is, still relatively young. But yes, I still think half of it is, I'm fine, or just don't think about it. Yeah.
And then one other thing I wanted to ask you too, back to the whole pre-existing conversation, and then back to what you just said recently now about contacting Allianz and the third-party company directly to get the answers. So if somebody is listening and they haven't booked their bucket list trip, but they're about to, and they've been talking to their travel professional, hopefully a Gifted Travel Network agent, and they're about to pull the trigger on their 2017 trip, but they haven't quite yet. But they know that they really need travel insurance, and there is a pre-existing medical condition either for themselves or a loved one. Before they go ahead and purchase the policy, they can call you, right, directly and get the answer from the horse's mouth about, I have, maybe you're in remission, maybe you have, a chronic illness, maybe there's something going on, right? They can call. Can they call and talk to you guys about it to see what's covered, what's not?
They don't just trying to find out information. And, again, those things are very depending on product, but people that are currently in chemotherapy, there's coverage for them.
Wow.
There is coverage for chronic illnesses. That is the whole point, that you get coverage for those type of things before you lose the coverage. So, but yes, you could always call to find out what the stipulations are to make sure you have that coverage. because someone in your, you don't even have something, but someone in your family does.
Mm-hmm.
So again, yes, you can always call us without a policy, with a policy, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Let's see. We did have something come in here from Lene. I don't know if I'm maybe saying that incorrectly. I apologize. I was told that if you put in a claim for a lost luggage or damaged items, you need receipts. Who has receipts for everything you have in a suitcase?
Yes, you do. I mean,
Yeah.
it's insurance, so you do have to provide proof.
Right.
There are situations with, depending on what the situation is with her or whatever, that you can use, what the cost is at Target type of thing.
Okay.
Like, there's ways around it. But yes, I mean, again,
There is ways around it.
You don't send us a claim and say I was sick. You go to the doctor, so there's documentation, and then you put in the claim.
Right.
So yes, so for the same thing, and again, to her point about if it's a totally lost luggage, it's a little harder to provide the exact receipts, but you can find ways to give certain amounts that would be comparable.
Right.
But if you did have to go buy, a new outfit,
Right. Then you have to keep the receipt.
You should have those receipts. So I
Good
hear
point.
that time and time again. Well, I just threw them away. Well, it's insurance. You got to have proof.
You gotta have you gotta have the receipt.
All right.
I think we've definitely answered all the other questions in the thread. So if you have any other questions for Jill, go ahead and pop that in. Otherwise, Jill, what parting words of wisdom do you have for us today for Travel Talk Live viewers?
Well, I don't know, I don't have much wisdom, but I would say travel for sure.
Travel.
And if you do travel for sure, then make sure you buy a policy to cover yourself so that you are protected, so that if something does happen, then you don't have to waste the rest of your vacation thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
That you can still enjoy your time there, even though you didn't get your luggage on the front end, knowing that you'll be able to recoup on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
Just cover yourself, and contact one of your travel and professionals, and they'll point you in the right direction.
Awesome.
It's great for people. So.
Well, Jill, thank you so much for agreeing to be on Travel Talk Live, our second episode ever. We're so excited, and thank you, viewers, for members of the Gifted Travel Network who are on, and also a lot of consumers that have just popped in. So we're really glad to have you. Thank you so much. We're going to be doing Travel Talk Live featuring our various guests every Tuesday at noon right here, exactly in the same format as we just did with Jill. So check back every Tuesday at noon, and check the posts also on the fan page for who's coming up next. But today we are just so grateful to you, Jill, for giving us your time, giving us your wisdom, and really helping our viewers for Travel Talk Live to understand the importance of travel insurance. And we really learned a lot from you today. I know our viewers did. We got some great comments, which I'm sure you'll be able to go back and look through on the thread after this. And we thank you for your support. So for all of our Travel Talk viewers out there, if you need a travel professional and you don't have a good one, or you just don't have one, you just contact us, info@giftedtravelnetwork.com. We would love to refer you to somebody in the Gifted Travel Network family. And for our Gifted Travel Network agents that are watching, go ahead and spread the good word with Travel Talk Live to your own network, so that your own clients and network of people that follow you can understand the importance of this topic. So thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next week at noon. Thank you, Jill. Such a pleasure. Bye.